F105, as per usual, kicking us off on the live stream, the Flying Casual live stream. This is the Halloween edition, and because Andrew Fantasia hates my guts, he said we should put a vote on and see who wants to wear a costume. And he came up guns a-blazing. I am very lazy and I don't wear costumes. But here we go. Andrew, I wish your picture was bigger on the screen though, but happy Halloween, everybody. It's Halloween Flying Casual. We got Jeff Wilson, Patreon Jeff Wilson, joining us today. He is dressed up as Brock Smink. Jeff, how you doing today?
That's great. I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. I'm turning up the volume very loud because I can't hear anything over this stupid mask. Shout out to Steve, my friend Steve from work. I think he made this. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm a lot better now that you put that mask on. I don't know what I love more, the mask itself or the fact that you still have your trademark cap on top of it.
You gotta wear the hat. If I don't wear the hat, no one will know it's me. I'm trying to read the live stream. Oh, Jesus Christ, how horrifying. That's true.
If it wasn't for the hat, I would have been like, who's this stranger? Is there a legit ghost that came on camera? Thank God for that.
There's definitely a ghost on camera. All right, everybody. I'm trying to get the. I can't see the. I can't see the live chat with. I can't really lean in too much. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've zoomed in pretty heavily on me right now, so it's mostly just my face. So let me just open it up here on my tablet. Before we get started on the topic of today, Jeff tipped me off last week to the idea that they could have shot somewhere around 8 different endings to the Rise of Skywalker. Jeff, I think you're still there.
Yes.
Tell me.
Hey.
You don't have to say where you how did you come across this, and what were your initial thoughts on it?
Well, it was. I mean, what else do we get news through besides Twitter these days?
Yes,
so through the Twitter sphere, there was a tweet that had claimed somebody from Lucasfilm talked about filming up to 8 different endings for the end of the Rise of Skywalker, and I am unsure if those are like really huge creative different endings, or if it's just like maybe we shot the same storyline 8 different times and like there's some ways we can actually wrap it up. But either way, the idea of having 8 different endings to this movie is beyond fascinating to me. So I have like very little thought about it. I don't know what I would do at 8. I mean, how can you conjure up 8 different endings to this massive storyline,
Last week, Andrew and I were speculating on talking about it a bit, and it's kind of, for me, it's almost like, are there 8 endings that they can't decide on, or are they 8 endings so that, when somebody posts a YouTube video like ending leaked, that they're like, nah, it's, that's number 5 on our list of 8 of them.
Yeah, okay, we'll just swap it out. Once they figure out one of them is leaked, they'll just put in something else, I guess.
They're all really the same ending.
Yeah.
This is the other thing, and I got to talk to Joshua the Den about this, because he's like, ending leak explained why fans are furious. I'm like, but there were 8 of them. So
Which one? Yeah, which one are you talking
which
about?
one? I'm just sharing the stream right now. Andrew, you had some thoughts last week. Anything else you want to add to the 8 different endings?
Yeah, I think it's a security thing more than anything else. I don't like Jeff. Were you a fan of Lost when it was on? Did you ever watch Lost?
I heard a lot about it, so I guess I mean in the realm of like J.J. Abrams and stuff. I mean it was a like very popular show when I was hearing about it, so I guess I never put time to binge through it because I didn't want to spoil anything. I wanted to do it all at once, and then I heard the ending sucks, so I didn't want to binge it anymore. But yeah, so.
Okay, well, so what I'll say won't have spoilers then, just because
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything. But
Gotcha.
it is definitely a J.J. Abrams kind of show. And there was a season finale. I think it was the end of season 4, where for a whole season they keep showing this coffin, and you're like, who's in that coffin? Whatever. And then the last shot of season 4 shows you, the coffin opens and you see who's inside. And they filmed, I think, about 5 or 6 different actors inside the coffin, just to keep it all hush hush. So when I heard this last week, when James told me what you told him, I was like, okay, this sounds like JJ trying to cover his tracks and be like, so now I'm picturing something where like the Emperor, I don't know, the Emperor is like killing Kylo with one hand and killing Rey with the other, and he's like, look how powerful I am. And then the door opens behind him and somebody walks in and he's like, who's this? And it's blank because we have 8 different endings. My money's on C-3PO though. But that's what I feel like is going on here. I feel like there's some kind of smoke and mirrors to keep something big from getting under, out in the open. Because apparently, I don't know them and I don't want to know them, but apparently there's a lot of huge leaks that are ruining this for people. And if I was JJ, I would not want something that big ruined.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome because I feel like it keeps everybody on their toes, and people who want to think that this movie is predictable and that, or this sequel trilogy has been predictable in itself. The people that want to think that way, I want them to kind of look back and say, oh, well, that's one way they could have done it, and I'm pretty interested in that. So, right on, JJ, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
Chris King says it's their first time here. Am I supposed to dress up? No, you're good, Chris. You're good.
You're fine. Yeah, Chris, didn't you get the memo? Come on. No, you're fine.
Miles is, I'm sure they are not having 8 radically different endings. J.J. Abrams would not do that. It's not his style. Maybe 8 subtle differences. That's what I think. I honestly think that it's 8 minor things so that when things get leaked, to preserve the excitement and the mystery of what's happening behind it. I'm pretty sure I have an idea of how this is going to end. I really think any Star Wars fan, if you asked any Star Wars fan how they would wrap up this Heidi, I'm going to do the whole video with my head down. If you ask any fan how they would wrap up the Star Wars saga, I really think we would all go in one direction, and that is R2-D2 shutting down for the last time. No, I'm joking. I think it would all have to do with Jeff. How would we all end the Skywalker saga?
That's honestly a tough question, I guess, for me, because I'm thinking about how they ended the prequel trilogy. We kind of knew where it was heading, right? And when they ended, Revenge of the Sith, we were like, okay, this is obviously going to wrap up to the beginning of A New Hope. And then when they ended, Return of the Jedi, at the time, we kind of assumed it wouldn't go on from there. So it was just a nice cushion, great finale. And now we live in a world where it's just a ton of misdirection, right? We don't know what's going to happen with these characters after this movie. I mean, all the stuff from Disney talking about movies in 2025 and all this other thing, Rian Johnson's trilogy, it's all up in the air still. So, which kind of keeps it interesting, right? I think they're trying to do a lot of things to keep everyone guessing. And one thing I kind of want to draw back to is Kevin Smith, I guess, visited the set of Rise of Skywalker not too long ago. He asked JJ if he could be in the movie, and JJ said, well, you can come visit the set, which I think is hilarious. But he kept him outside, and JJ's like, I don't want you to go in this, the studio, because it's like, why not? This is the last shot of the movie. And JJ's like, I want you to be surprised in the theater when you see this. Like, don't go in there. This is like, how crazy is that JJ is telling people who are actually Star Wars fans to not, see a bit of the set or see what's happening, because he knows that it's this like anticipation and this hype is far greater than anything else. And for him to tell someone who, like Kevin Smith, who's a ultra nerd, like, go in there because I want you to be surprised. Like, that's something to take note of. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I think
that's really cool.
So, I mean, if you think of what he says and you take it at face value and you believe that everybody was being honest in that statement, it has to be a location that we all know and love, right? Like a Star Wars fan, something that would resonate with all Star Wars fans, because it's not like, you could show up on the set of of Jakku, and you're like, oh, it ended on Jakku. That's cool. And that would be like a huge thing, but that's not ending it on a Naboo, or a Tatooine, or a Camino. Imagine if it ended on Camino and she was just a clone of Jango.
The whole time. Wow.
I'm just looking at the super chat. Rural Farm Boys here, Horizon Brave. I think it's more about JJ knowing how big Kevin Smith's mouth is. He didn't want him to ruin it or spoil it. Fair enough.
That's also big point there. Yeah, that's also very true because Kevin Smith would talk a lot about it. You know?
Could you imagine his next evening with Kevin Smith? He's like, so I'm on the set of the effing Star Wars movie. Jay Muse
2 hours and talking about it. Yeah.
I should do Slimer hand gestures. Sorry.
I can totally see a world where JJ wants to end at like the Lars Moisture Farm, but as soon as he, packs up a crew and flies to Tunisia, the word is out. You can't hide that. So I can totally see a world where he gets a soundstage. Because of Kevin's story, we know that the last shot is on a soundstage. It's not a location. I can totally see, he puts up a green screen. He builds like that igloo-shaped kind of part of the Lars homestead, and he's just like, all right, we got to keep this hush-hush, but we're on Tatooine here. Like, I think that going to Tatooine is something I think everybody is kind of hoping and dreaming of, but the second you fly a crew to Tunisia, you are basically putting a target on your head. So I can see JJ doing something like this just to keep that scene a secret till December.
Yeah. And thinking about, I guess, just the misdirection that we've dealt with, since Empire, where Lucas had parts of the script that talk about Vader being his father removed from the script. So it's like he didn't tell the actors until he's about to yell action. So I think, steps like that kind of, put you in the mindset like, all right, there's something big going on, and not even letting your actors know what it is, or, friends who are big fans of the films. And I think, there's something to be said for that. So it's just building the hype. That's all it's doing. And it's working for me. So
yeah, the hype is definitely working. So I really hope that this ending exists where it's like, a door opens and some character comes out to save the day and beat Palpatine or whatever. And just as a joke on like the Blu-ray, when Rise of Skywalker comes out, they make like a bunch of alternate cuts of that with alternate characters and just show it to us where Palpatine's like, who's there? And the door opens and it's like Watto or something. Get away from those Jedi, huh? that would be my favorite special feature ever if they did that.
Yeah. Even as a joke, they should just do that anyway. I think just put that on there. Wow.
Heidi says that Andrew looks like the Riddler's Uncle Mo.
The Riddler does have an Uncle Mo, so that's absolutely correct.
How excited are you about Paul Dano, Fantasia?
To be honest, I don't really know much about Paul Dano himself, what he's going to bring to the table. I'm just excited that, filmmakers are acknowledging that the best Batman villain ever actually exists. Because, since Batman Forever, they tend to be forgetting that. And I'm like, dude, the Riddler's standing right there. What's the matter with you? So I'm just glad he's finally in a movie again. It only took, 24 years?
Side Akbar, the real question is who is actually going to be playing the Penguin?
Well, if I keep drinking this disgusting, ghastly Coca-Cola, it's probably going to be me.
I guess it depends on how they're going to portray the Penguin. Also, I kind of always liked. I liked when who was it? Was it Boss Logic did Josh Gad as the Penguin? I thought that looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. No more Batman talk, Andrew. I know that's your bread and butter here.
Damn it, James. That's why I'm here.
That's why this is the Batman Scum podcast.
One last thing. Paul Dano, do the Riddler, portray the Riddler like the Jigsaw Killer in Saw. You're golden. You are golden. Well, that's all I can say.
They say that this Batman is supposed to be more of like a detective film, so I think the Riddler is going to play a cool part and be a little more up your alley than not. All right, so we got to go right into now these I can't see anything. Okay, this thing that we're talking about. Andrew and I did an Unleashed on the weekend about this new comic book coming out called Kylo Ren. Brock we're going to do it on episode 139. If you're a Patreon right now, you can watch and listen to episode 139. But that's coming on Wednesday. Brock talks about how excited he is for that. Aaron says stop drinking Coke, Andrew.
Yeah, sorry, Aaron.
I actually got a text.
I normally don't. But my mom was nice enough to buy these Coke. She's like, look, flavors of stuff. Oh, yeah. And I feel bad, so I'm just like, I want to finish it because it was a nice gesture, but I would never willingly buy Coca-Cola or soda. Trust me, I'm good, Aaron. I hear you.
All right. Anyway, so we did this video on that. If you haven't seen that Unleashed, check it out. But we left one part of the synopsis of this comic book out, and that's what I wanted to leave for today to talk about today, because this is something that as soon as I heard it, took my attention to the Last Jedi and Luke Skywalker. So here's the beginning of the synopsis. With the new Jedi school in ruins and fellow students hot on his trail for the murder of their master, Ben Solo flees to the only friend he has left in the galaxy, a man named Snoke. But Snoke has plans for Ben and ideas about the Force that are as dangerous as they are intriguing for the troubled young Jedi.
Is that the new part?
That is the first part. We mentioned the Snoke being a man, how that was the first time we've ever been heard referred to him as a man. But we didn't talk about that because I want to get into it today, because when Luke tells us in The Last Jedi what happens, he says Ben left with a group of students. He took a handful of students. Mm-hmm. Now this is telling us that, I mean, maybe that's still true, but this is telling us that the students actually left to go kill Ben because they thought he killed Luke.
Right. Well, these might be, the students in this synopsis must be different students than the ones that took off with Ben. Maybe like Luke had like a group of kids who were out on a field trip. He's like, look, I want you guys to go to Chili's, sit down, have a meal, talk about the Force if you want. You know, try not to get into any hanky-panky situations. I know we have like this Porky setup going on at our Jedi Temple, but, you know, try to behave yourselves. They went off, they came back and found rubble. And they're like, oh, damn, this, I don't know how they know it's Ben. Maybe they found like a recording like in Revenge of the Sith. And they're like, Ben, I can't watch anymore. And then they go after him. I don't know. But I feel like that's the only way it could be, right? Because why would the ones who run off with him suddenly want to kill him?
Jeff?
Yeah, I actually just passed the part. I'm watching Last Jedi right now. I just passed the part where he says that he took a handful of students with him and then obviously slaughtered the rest, is what the quote says in the movie. So it's interesting how they're going to try and, I mean, obviously this is something that isn't told in the movie very well, I'm assuming, because that's why there's like a comic like continuation coming on. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what they're trying to say with it. I don't think it's a full-on retcon. I think it'll be just something, I mean, they might touch on it very little in The Rise of Skywalker, and then, you know, if it's something else that you want to read more about, the comics are there as kind of like the complement, I mean, to the movie, I guess. So, and I mean, do we talk about the first issue is coming out in December, right? And then
first
the second issue
in December. Yeah, the one that we're discussing now is it doesn't come out till January. So these questions and answers won't come until after The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. So I feel like, I honestly, I don't know what they mean by that. I'm not gonna lie to you. So,
I had this perspective that what if Luke was wrong about it all? What if Luke thought like that? Like Kylo never took students with him, because now we're finding out also that the Knights of Ren weren't part of Luke's school, his Jedi Academy. So what if Luke thought that Kylo took some students with him, but in fact the students never went with him, and maybe the students reappear in this movie, or maybe they all get slaughtered handily in an epic battle by Kylo Ren.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense too if, you know, Luke and Kylo are telling kind of the different versions of the same story that kind of happened in Last Jedi already, where they kind of remembering that weird, like, final, you know, encounter between the two of them. I mean, they both remembered it kind of differently. So maybe that could be another perception thing that's happening also.
Yeah. And one thing we've never gotten a clear answer on is how many students, period, were in this academy when Ben turned dark. Like, how big is this school? If it's, you know, I forget those Kevin J. Anderson books that came out in the 90s with, like, Kip Duran and everything. But Luke had, like, a small class, like a Magic School Bus sized class of kids. But this is sounding like it's a full-on, like, almost Hogwarts of Jedi. That's cool, man. Like, that is, if we get a flashback of that, that's going to be something to see. And we don't even know where this temple is yet. I mean, that flashback was kind of stingy on what planet they're on. So that would be an interesting kind of thing too, to find out the location of this temple. Is it Yavin 4 like it used to be in the EU, or did they switch it up and do something different? I never even thought of that until now, of seeing that in Rise of Skywalker potentially until now. But now I really hope we see it.
Yeah, I mean, we got like a little flashback in The Last Jedi. I think they're probably going to elaborate a little bit more on it in The Rise of Skywalker too.
Well,
I'm hoping.
Emers from the Girls with Sabers says, the whole Night of the Jedi Temple situation with Kylo is from others' point of view. I also think we will find that Ben never slaughtered these students. So then that, of course, raises the question, where are these students? And, I mean, Andrew, you're with me on the leaks. Jeff, I think you are too. We're not reading them. So maybe this has been answered, but like we thought like years ago when we started doing this podcast, I think Andrew, you were on with us speculating about how it could all wrap up, and we're like, oh, an epic war with a million Jedi and a million Sith, and obviously we're not going to get to that point, but there could be more Jedi or Padawans in the galaxy as of right now because of this new information that we've gotten.
Well, you know what would be cool, because that's a great point, James. And you just messaged me today about the book Resistance Rising, right? Mm-hmm. Resistance Rising is that book that's coming out next month, I think in like a week and a half. And I'm excited for it because it's the first time we're getting a piece of expanded canon, a book, comic, whatever, where it's really going to focus on Rey, Finn, and Poe. It's really going to focus on our new heroes and not just be like, hey, Rey's on Jakku scavenging and she found a MP3 player. Like, it's not irrelevant stuff. It seems like it's going to be important. So let's just say theoretically all three of those heroes survive at the end of this movie, and then we get books and comics in the future that's just about their further adventures after defeating the First Order and whatnot. One of those adventures could very well be, hey, let's search the galaxy for Luke's missing Padawans. There's like 50 of them out there somewhere. That sounds like a video game to me, actually.
Well, here's the only thing.
I read that.
The only issue with having a lot is that he says, does he say a handful? I think he says a half dozen, right? So we know that there are 6.
Yeah.
So the question is, were there more and only 6 went after Ben? Or were there only 6 plus Ben to begin with? And it is intriguing when you think about it that there are 6 Knights of Ren and there are 6 students that went after Kylo. It's almost like a little too coincidental.
Yeah, that's true. Because initially our first thought is to go with what Last Jedi tells us, and that those 6 who leave with him, or however number, are the Knights of Ren. But you're right, 6 is a specific number, so there's something screwy here. We don't know. There's a piece of this story that's really been fed to us in a weird way. And I don't know. I think this comic's going to shed more light on the Knights of Ren than the movie will.
Well, this is what Horizon Brave has a problem with, is he says, it sucks that we're getting this in a comic and not in the movies. Do you guys think that could be a mistake?
Well, Horizon Brave, I've gone on record before. These movies could have been 4 hours long, and I'd be okay with that. And that would have, if that extra runtime existed, it probably would have included stuff like this. So is it a mistake? Maybe. It depends what the revelation is. It depends what the comic reveals. If it's big, like I still think it was a mistake for the comics to show the scene where Vader first finds out he has a son. That's too heavy to not be shown on camera. If what the comic tells us is just like, one of the Knights of Ren's name is Martha, and she's deep down she really thinks Luke's a cool guy, but she thinks Kylo Ren is cooler, so she's all conflicted and stuff. And I'd be like, that's cool, but that's not movie cool, But a 4-hour Star Wars where these details got all up in our grill on the big screen would have been A-okay with me, regardless of how small those revelations are. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I agree. I would love a 4-hour work print of this last movie, because I feel like they're trying to. I mean, they have so much stuff they have to pack into these, 2.5 hours or 2 hours 35 minutes or something like that. And so I think stuff like this is going to come out through another medium, because I don't think there's just not enough time. And I know people flocked to see Avengers and it was over 3 hours because there was a lot of stuff they had to tell there too. But I'm not sure if people would do another 3-hour plus movie in the same year about just Star Wars. Unfortunately, I would, and we all would, but like I'm not sure if the mass media is ready for that. So they might have the continuation of the comics to help kind of go along with the movie, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean, not to talk smack about it, but if It Chapter 2 gets to be 249, let Star Wars be.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, that movie felt like 4 hours too, but it was only.
It did feel its length. Yeah, it definitely felt longer than Endgame.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I wish we could have all those things, and all these things have to wrap up, and everything that people claim Last Jedi didn't tell them or didn't move the story along enough, and I can agree and disagree with that at the same time. But I feel like this movie is not going to be a slow burn. It's going to be packed with stuff that's going to raise everyone's eyebrows. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the concern of we shouldn't have to get this from a comic book, and I understand that concern because this, like right now, we're doing a whole live stream based on this on a topic that's coming from, or an idea from a comic book based on a movie, and I totally understand that. However, we could watch the movie and this could be so inconsequential to what we saw that this could be something that we're like, oh yeah, that's a neat little side story that we thought was way more important back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever the comic ends up telling us, I hope is. So that's the balance you got to find with the EU, is just like, oh, we want to write these stories that are worth spending money on a comic book, but at the same time, they can't be so good that it's like, why was this not in the film? And I think that once this trilogy is over and December is past us, and we start getting into that 3-year gap between movies, it'll be easier to make content in the EU because you don't have to worry about like this is too important, like because there's no movie coming out. So just why not tell the story of how I don't know how BB-8 dies. Just tell the big important stories because you're not gonna get another chance to tell them.
Yeah, and that's probably what I'm imagining. What happened, through the mid '80s and through the '90s when we didn't have any confirmation of any movies being happening. A 10-year gap where there was just nothing, right? Mm-hmm. My dad talks about like the Star Wars drought, where it was like once the Return of the Jedi premiered, and then you're like, I need more, and what are we gonna do? We turn to the EU books and we turn to some of the comics and stuff like that. And I remember before Phantom Menace even came out, you can look on the internet for a bunch of EU stories and find out what happened to your favorite character and all this other stuff. So I think it'll be interesting to see where the next couple of years takes us in terms of like what content they choose to kind of develop. And we have the shows going on too, which is kind of going to give us a look back. But looking forward, it's we're kind of in the unknown here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the future of Star Wars, whether or not it's based around. I think to Andrew's point with the books, yes, we are going to get some really, hopefully, cool content. I think for me, I've said this before. I think when they said no more EU, I was okay with it. But at the same time, I feel like they could have just been like, you know what, the EU is not canon, but we're going to let those authors tell those stories in that sandbox. Just remember when you're reading it, what you read won't tie into the movies. I think that would have been a fair way to go about it. And then they would have had even more novels come out, creating more excitement for everybody.
That's true, yeah. Keep Legends going as its own subset thing. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't do that now that you mention it.
Yeah, well, I mean, who wants money?
Right.
I'm look. I don't know. When I read this, it just so Girls with Sabers is saying that it's he had a dozen students and Ben that he took to go train. So there's at least 12 students. There are 12 Jedi that are either alive somewhere in the galaxy or deceased somewhere in the galaxy. Never tell me the odds, Jeff. I'll start with you. Are these Jedi dead?
I'm gonna go like, are they dead? Like, are they a percentage that they're dead, a percentage that they're alive?
Percentage that they're dead.
When we get to the movie, I don't know. Probably, I don't foresee them playing that huge part in the movie. So I guess what I'm assuming, the comic book obviously telling us like a story from the past. So when they get to the movie, I'm gonna say like an 80% chance. Yeah, they are.
Andrew?
I'm going to go the other end of the scale there. I'm going to say like 7% chance they're dead. because I see a future where Disney kind of does the same thing that they're doing now, where it's like, Revenge of the Sith told us, oh man, that's it, Vader and Palpatine cleaned up, and aside from Obi-Wan and Yoda, there's no more Jedi left, except Quinlan Vos and this guy and that guy and Ahsoka and this person and these three riding on this moon, and it's like, whoa. So that sounds like something that's going to repeat itself.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat going on. I'm going to give my odd now. I didn't want to. Look, this movie is about, this sequel trilogy is about Rey and Kylo Ren. At the crux of it all, that's who it's about. And what?
And Unkar Plutt. Don't forget.
Well, naturally, it's also about Unkar Plutt and Two Tubes, who will be coming back in The Rise of Skywalker. But so it's about those two characters. Is there a place for more Jedi to pop up? And I would argue yes. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna go 49.35821%. This is gonna happen because I wanted to, but it could be about Rey and Kylo, and then and then their story is unfolding, and then Sheevy P makes his grand entrance, and they're like, oh, there's something bigger at play here. There's a Sith army, which apparently, according to a book, I can't remember which one, but they're guarding Kylo Ren, actually, the Sith troopers, so whatever. But anyway, there's Sith troopers, there's the Imperial fleet still around. There's so much drama that Sheevy P brings with him because he's a drama queen, that Kylo and Rey are going to be like, okay. But all of a sudden, all these other Jedi come back to the light, and so it's still, the focus is still on those two, and it still comes down to them, but the other Jedi have to come around to fight off all the other evils. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm thinking that ain't happening.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So there's talking about whose dog's barking. Is there a dog barking?
No, I got people upstairs stomping, but no dog barking.
It could be mine. Either, so. I can't hear anything except for you guys. I'm not gonna lie. All I can hear are you, and I have you guys cranked like the entire way because I can't hear anything.
Your mask has not broken eye contact with me this entire time. Very kind of, yeah.
Good. Do you guys think the opening line of this movie is going to be Luke Skywalker is dead?
In the crawl?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good idea. I think with all the stuff that they put with him in the trailer, I feel like just throwing him out there as dead right away seems kind of cheap. But because I mean, no one ever really dies, right?
Ooh, look at him throwing that in our face. Andrew, what do you think? Come on, give me like an honest 100% here.
I think the opening line is going to be war ! That's it. Because it's a big deal, but is it a war? And then I think it's going to immediately indent to a new paragraph, and then it's going to say Luke Skywalker is gone, but the Resistance carries on in his honor.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that too. Luke Skywalker's gone, but not forgotten.
No.
Or either that or this line is going to be, seriously, guys, Matt Smith is not in this movie.
I'm not even going to go there anymore because he has no connection to Star Wars.
If he shows up, I can't wait to look over at your face and see.
He's going to be in the first 10 minutes. Yeah.
he is the guy reading the crawl. He's like writing it.
He's a will.
Yeah, he's a will. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Mr. Rez says, riddle me this.
All right, what is it? What's the riddle?
No, I think he's referring to your outfit. Okay, and Miles asks, will Force Ghost Luke look more like Yoda Force Ghost or Kenobi? Will he be able to influence the real world should they have him do physical acts? Andrew, let's start with you.
James, do I look like a guy who likes to talk about questions? No. Here, come on. Give me a break. I think Luke will be able to do physical stuff because the ghosts have... I mean, yeah, Kenobi didn't do what Yoda did with the tree, but the situation's never really called for it. Now, what has me curious is, everybody's talking about like, okay, this is going to be cool. The ghosts are going to help Rey in the final battle. But what bugs me about that, not bugs, but what worries me is that you have to write that scene very carefully, because if these ghosts can help Rey or Kylo or whoever in this final battle, why was Obi-Wan's whole thing in Empire Strikes Back be like, if you face Vader, I cannot interfere? So like, what's different now? Why can they? As long as you get over that hurdle, then I'm cool with it.
Okay, but if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He never really became more powerful.
Well, now he can like go through walls and stuff.
All right, we got a super chat from Heidi Feder. Super chat. Thank you, Heidi. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks,
Heidi Feder.
I'm trying to point, but I don't want to put up the wrong finger because I can't see. Tell me that's not bad news. Okay.
Wrong finger.
Yeah. Girls with Sabers first says, yeah, Matt Smith ain't in this, folks. Ooh, we're gonna put a bet. We're gonna put a bet on that because I think he is gonna show up just to spite me. All right, here we go. The odds. This is from Heidi Feder. Odds: we get standalone film / TV series about current trilogy characters. Dun dun dun. Silky Touch is here. Hi guys. Hi Silky. Odds: we get standalone film / TV series about current trilogy characters. I think Heidi's referring to. There is I think a rumor dropped. I think it was from, I'm not even going to say the website because they cover nothing real, but well, sorry. Anyway, and it was about how Kylo Ren, they're developing a Kylo Ren Disney Plus show. I think that was bogus. But anyway, what do you guys think? Well, are we going to get any Disney Plus shows about these characters, or any of them going to continue on in films? I'll start with Andrew so that Jeff can think about it for a second.
Okay. Who asked the question? Is it Heidi?
Yeah.
Heidi, I think the answer to that question is a solid 92%. And I'll tell you why. I think it's because we get this Cassian Andor show, okay? No offense to Cassian Andor, and no offense to Diego Luna. I love them both. But he might have been the least interesting character in Rogue One. I mean, my heart always lives with Bodhi Rook. Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus are leagues more interesting than Cassian. But we're getting a Cassian show, so if the least interesting character in a spin-off is getting a show, I think it's only a matter of time before somebody from the main saga gets their own show. I can totally see, because we get so little time with them, either Janna or Zori getting a spinoff, maybe even both.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with Andrew. I think the Disney Plus shows, I think the idea is great, and I think it's kind of like a, not like, I guess like a lesser way to kind of move the story along. And I think, with talks of the Kenobi show happening, and the Mandalorian, I feel like they're going to be huge. And I feel like they're going to be well done. And I think that's going to put those stories, up on a pedestal to a sense like, okay, what do we do now? What do we do next? So I think there's a huge possibility of characters from this sequel trilogy getting their own show. I think it's going to be huge. Disney Plus is going to be huge anyway, but now that they're adding all this great extra content, it's definitely going to happen, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Girls with Sabers just mentioning how Wedge Antilles is in the Resistance Reborn book. They even put him on the cover of it. Andrew, that picture I sent you has Wedge on the cover. He's in the Aftermath trilogy. So, of course, Nora is also, I think Nora's in it unless she's dead. Because Nora dies like 700 times in the first Aftermath book, right? Like every other chapter, Nora dies, if I remember correctly from that one. But so Wedge is going to be in Rise of Skywalker. I think that was reported. If not, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry guys, spoiling everything.
I don't know. Is Wedge a spoiler? Like, I don't know. Is anyone that started watching these movies from The Force Awakens going to even care if Wedge is in it? Let's be honest.
I hope one kid points and screams in the theater. He's like, "Oh my God, Wedge!"
Yeah, it's Wedge.
I will be that kid. Yeah.
It'll be you and Brock. You're both gonna lose your minds.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be there like, "Well, Porkins is still dead."
Yeah.
That's all I guess. I think I'm not gonna lie. I'm really actually. I don't know if I'm gonna go 44.39782%. Because I think this is.
That too.
I think that this is going to end for a lot of these characters, and I don't know how many of these characters we are going. I mean, how many of these characters are we going to want to see progress? Let's say if Finn, first of all, if Finn dies, you can't even do a prequel on Finn. Well, I mean, I would watch it, but it would just be him becoming a really bad stormtrooper, like a stormtrooper with morals. Like it's not very interesting there. I mean, Phasma would get a bigger role, I suppose, but there's nothing you really want to see there. How cool would it be if I haven't seen the first season of Resistance, but if Finn was in the first season of Resistance as a stormtrooper, just like in sanitation, I would have been down with that. But you know what I mean? Like in Rey, these movies are so much about Rey, I just can't see them spinning Rey off into a show. And Kylo Ren would be awesome because we all want to see that. But if we're going to get it in comics, are they going to go that route for us? And then Poe Dameron, maybe, but I don't know. Just I can't see. I mean, I would be down for any of these characters in a show, in a Disney Plus show or a movie, but I just don't see that happening.
Hey, like I've said many times, like I want to see a post episode 9 sitcom, a la Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, where it's Rey, Finn, and Poe running a pizza shop on Coruscant, and like Rose is their Kramer, and every once in a while she pops in, she's like, guys, the craziest thing just happened. So I would love anything that's like just them growing old and hanging out together. In terms of prequels, though, like you mentioned, James, yeah, that's trickier. Like the prequel stories, Finn, there's not really much there. Kylo, we kind of are starting to get that, but the whole point is we don't know yet. Poe, we got his prequel story in the comic, which was a really good comic, but now it's over. Rey, the only way you could possibly do a Rey prequel story is if it turns out that she does have that whole false memory thing, and she's only been on Jakku for like a month, and in reality she's been doing a whole bunch of other grandiose things off in the galaxy. But otherwise, if she really has grown up on Jakku this whole time, I don't think a prequel of just her being like, let's go see if there's something in that wreckage now, like I'm not really keen on watching that. So I think if you're going to spin off these characters, if you're going with the main ones, the only way to go is forward. Unless you go somebody like Zori Bliss, then I think you could do a prequel. Hands down, you're fine.
All right, we got another super chat. Our friend Red Wolf is in the house. Red Wolf, welcome. Also, I got to say hi to Dale as well. Red Wolf, super chat. Here we go. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Good. I'm going to see what this question is, and then I'll decide who starts. I don't want Andrew to feel comfortable. In the Obi-Wan series, I think Vader should be the main villain. Ewan recently said Obi would be dealing with PTSD. Seeing Vader would bring the more machine than man line full swing, hence his recovery. Vader should be the main villain. I'll let you guys marinate on that a little bit. So we're going to talk. So Ewan McGregor did an interview in, I think, Men's Health or something like that. And he says it's going to be, he's been lying about this for 4 years, since 2015, and it's going to be 6 episodes, is what we learn in that article. So, with that being said, I guess I'll take this one first, because I should go first and let Andrew actually catch a little bit of a break here. I would love Vader to, because it's only 6 episodes, I would be okay with Vader being an underlying character / villain. Little more presence than Rogue One, but still felt. And Obi-Wan will start learning things about Vader that kind of terrify him even more and need him to protect Luke even more. And we find out about what's going on there. And there's a rumor that Joel Edgerton is coming back as Uncle Owen. Please, I hope he comes back as Uncle Owen. And I say this on the episode 139, which you can get on Patreon right now. I'm so excited for this series because it was already written before they announced it. They had a storyline. Ewan McGregor signed on for a storyline. They have something tangible to grasp onto, unlike the Cassian Andor series, which Andrew's looking forward to, where apparently that thing almost went belly up because they couldn't figure it out, and then Tony Gilroy came in to save it. So I'm really excited for Obi-Wan. I love that it's only 6 episodes, very limited, but I think it's going to be very powerful. So I'm gonna agree with you. I think Vader should be the main villain of it, but a different kind of villain. Not a lightsaber battle villain. A more cerebral kind of villain for Obi-Wan Kenobi to deal with the demons of his brother Anakin Skywalker now being more man than machine. Andrew, you up?
Okay. this is Red Wolf's question, correct?
It is.
Okay, Red Wolf, earlier in the show, just tonight, I said that it was a big mistake, big missed opportunity to have the scene where Vader finds out that he has a kid alive out there in the galaxy. It was a big mistake to only have that in a comic and not show it on screen. The other big mistake is if we never see the scene where Obi-Wan finds out, oh my God, Anakin survived that lava and now he's running around in this armor. If we never see that, somebody dropped the ball. So 100%, dude, show us this story in this series, because where else are you going to show it? Get that goodness in there. I like what James said. Yeah, he doesn't have to be there every episode like, ooh, I found you, Obi-Wan. It doesn't have to be like that kind of thing where they're dueling all the time. Though a duel would be kind of neat. But as long as he is there doing stuff that's bad in the galaxy and Obi-Wan's like, who's this armored fellow? I've never heard of this person before. And then he does this detective work and he learns all of this stuff. I would absolutely love that. And considering it's only 6 episodes, I hope that they are extra long episodes, kind of like the last season of Game of Thrones, where there was only 6, but they were each like 90 minutes. Because I could get on board with that. Because 6 feels really small.
It feels small, but also I said this I think a long time ago that I thought that this was a movie script that they just now fleshed out into a series. So they might not be super long, but I think they're going to be very, very focused. Jeff.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Andrew was saying about it being kind of like, I definitely would want more of him in the series than Rogue One, but maybe not so much of like the really big, dramatic, bombastic stuff, but more like, yeah, he's coming to form, and we have, Obi-Wan who's still trying to figure out things and what he's going through. I'm assuming I'm picturing a lot of flashbacks for Obi-Wan about what happened, and I guess I would want something like that, and then maybe like a big encounter, maybe on the 6th episode that was some big huge final like another like lightsaber battle, but nothing like we got in Revenge of the Sith. But I could definitely see Vader, his own thing on like the other side of the galaxy, while Obi-Wan is still trying to come to fruition with that what actually happened. But I guess my question for you guys is 2 questions, actually. Is Hayden Christensen returning to do something to be involved here? And is there going to be any involvement from Lucas?
Funny enough, you asked that because Happily Ever Liqueur is back. Hi, Happily. And their question, they say, are they keeping Hayden under wraps because he's in Obi-Wan's show and not in The Rise of Skywalker? So that's a twofold now. God, wouldn't it be great if he was in both, Andrew?
It would be great. And I think Happily Ever Liqueur, though, I think that having Hayden, this is just my assumption, it's just where my brain goes, and I think everybody else agrees with me, but if Hayden shows up in Rise of Skywalker, it's as a Force ghost and we see him, whereas showing up in Obi-Wan would mean he's in the armor and we don't see him. So I always... like, my mind is leaning more likely towards Rise of Skywalker just because if you're going to get Hayden show his face, because you could put anybody in that armor, and obviously you find a James Earl Jones sound-alike or use James Earl Jones, but I can't see, unless they go flashbacks in that show, which would be really interesting because then that opens the door, like, are you showing Padme now? Are you showing Coruscant? Where are we going? How deep are these flashbacks getting? But I always just assumed Hayden would like when we see Darth Vader, I always just assumed it wouldn't be Hayden unless it's like a Rogue One situation in the back to tank. But even that they wouldn't give us. So.
No, that would have been amazing. I hope he shows up in this movie, and if he does suffer from some PTSD and there's some flashbacks of him and Anakin talking, or Anakin maybe haunts his dreams. Like this scarred up Anakin, like you did this to me. Like that kind of stuff. I don't know what we're in for with this limited series, though. I'm really excited. I really like Obi-Wan. I think I forget how much I like Obi-Wan because he hasn't had a part in the sequel trilogy. He wasn't in Rebels. He's not in the new Star Wars as much. Like when you watch the new stuff, you're not there's no Obi-Wan. There's no focus on him anymore. So I almost forget how much I actually like him as a character. That could just be me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Actually, another question, I guess, for you guys is once the series happens, is there any involvement from Mr. Liam Neeson for a flashback sequence?
Yes, that would be a flashback for sure. That would be great. I guess, yeah, I guess they're at the point now where they can DH McGregor, give him that Backstreet Boys look he had in Phantom Menace. I don't know, what de-aging and facial hair. I don't know if they're compatible. If the Justice League haters have taught me anything, it's that facial hair is a big no-no when it comes to CGI. I guess they can take away his beard and be like, yeah, he's young Obi-Wan again, and show Qui-Gon, because everybody would love to see Qui-Gon. I don't think there's a person out there who's Qui-Gon Jinn. So I think that Disney is just looking for opportunities to bring him back, and that might be the sweet spot, Jeff. That might be it.
Or I guess also, in addition to a flashback, is there a Force Ghost possibility with Qui-Gon? Because, in the end of Revenge of the Sith, he talks about learning the capabilities to communicate with Qui-Gon from Yoda. So I'm wondering if there's something that could be really awesome to see, on screen with that.
I think whenever you have Liam Neeson and Qui-Gon, there's something awesome to be seen on the screen.
Yeah.
No question for me. I think absolutely. You know what, I say that, but I don't know, because we're talking about 6 episodes. I don't know. Is there a place for Liam Neeson? I mean, we would all love him there, but then you argue, is there a place for Red Skull in Infinity War Endgame? And apparently there was. So
yeah,
sometimes you could be, it might be considered fan service, but sometimes you just have to be creative, and you could fit things in easily there. And don't forget, there's also maybe it starts off with a little tiny bit of training of Qui-Gon Jinn training Ewan McGregor how to become a Force Ghost. And it's very brief, very simple. He's just like, Obi-Wan, let yourself be with your spirits. And then he becomes that.
I hope it's literally just you saying, Obi-Wan, let yourself be with your spirits in that voice. And they just dub it over an image of Liam Neeson.
And old stock footage from 1999. Yeah. I'd be down with that too. Even if they did that, I'd be like, sweet, there's a nod. I'll take it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I'm trying to catch up on the chat. It's really hard for me to read anything. Also, my glasses are kind of off, so I can see even less than normal. James is taking selfies while streaming. Yeah, because I'm looking down the entire show. Okay, now I lost the question I wanted to read. But how many? This is from Donald Blake. How many Force Ghosts will be seen at the end of 9?
Donald Blake, the same person who is secretly Thor in the comics. Nice to meet you, Donald Blake. I'll keep your identity secret. That's one of the questions in our episode 9 predictions, actually, about how many Force Ghosts we'll see.
Oh yeah.
My money's.
We should tell everybody when that's coming out.
That's right. When is it coming out? I know when we're recording, but I don't know when it's coming. Is it coming out November 20th?
November 20th, 1 month to go. We're going to do a prediction show. We got a special guest coming in that one, so keep your eye out. Also, guys, come check out our Patreon page. Andrew can speak to that later.
Yay, Patreon. What do you think, Jeff? What do you think Force Ghost wise?
I'm trying to think about how many. If they're progressing towards more, throughout the sequel trilogy, we got none in Force Awakens. Obviously, we had Yoda, and I guess you can count Luke's final encounter as a Force Ghost moment, maybe. So beyond Luke being a Force Ghost, I'm trying to imagine a scenario where we see more than that. Where we can see an Obi-Wan or a Yoda or a Mace Windu Force Ghost, because why not? That would be super dope, and I would love that. But I guess trying to find a reasonable storyline, I guess, that coincides with having multiple Force Ghosts, if there's going to be one big ghost battle or something like that of endgame proportions. But I past Luke and maybe Yoda, maybe I can't figure out any reason why there would be more than that, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm going max 5, because I'm going with Leia. I'm going Luke, Leia, Yoda, Obi-Wan.
I didn't think about Leia. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to spoil episode 139. Coming Wednesday, unless you're on Patreon, it's up now. James, take that ridiculous thing off. No, it's Halloween. Bum, 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 wait.
That person was quoting Snoke. That's a good Snoke quote. I like that. Whoever did that. Yeah. And I like your blue.
Rural farm boy. You can always count on rural for the Star Wars quotes. Now I'm trick-or-treating. Is this on camera? I don't know.
Good.
Trick-or-treat. We got Den Allen's got a question. Den Allen says 1,539 Force Ghosts. I think he might be right. Two things from Den Allen. If Disney is keeping continuity, one, Ahsoka won't appear, or Obi-Wan would have told her about Anakin's fall. Two, Maul won't be present because we know when he discovers Ben is alive. That is for the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, there definitely won't be any Maul in there, and I think I'm okay with that.
I wish there was a chocolate bar or candy bar. That's what you guys call it. I wish there was a... Anyway. Happy Halloween. Oh, I think I broke something.
You got my hopes up. I thought you were actually going to pull out a chocolate bar and we could watch it.
Yeah.
No. You know what? So I live in the woods, Andrew. You know, I live near nobody. But so I went to the store and I bought 90 chocolate bars. I didn't get the small box. I got the big box. So I mean, if a kid comes, I'm well prepared. But if they don't, I'm well prepared. So I got 90, and I made sure that the Crispy Crunch. Jeff, you guys don't have Crispy Crunch, right?
No.
No. Okay, I'm gonna bring you some because we're gonna meet up. And we're gonna it's my favorite chocolate. It's like a Butterfinger, but better.
It is better than a. We need to do contests where the winners get confections that you can't find outside of Canada.
Like what is it? We have Crispy Crunch and ketchup chips, and you guys get everything else.
Yeah.
But you guys are Toys R Us too, so you guys are winning actually.
But you guys have, and James can attest to this because he saw my reaction. You guys have like Orange Crush flavored Pop Tarts, Dunkin' Donuts vanilla latte Pop Tarts. My buddy's dating a girl in the States, and he messaged me this weekend. He's like, "Hey, I'm in Detroit. Do you want anything?" And I asked his girlfriend, I was like, "You guys have Fruit Brute cereal?" And she's like, "Yeah, man." I got some.
That's awesome. That's the best Halloween candy. So.
Silky Touch is saying Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, Luke, Han, Yoda, Anakin, Leia, all going on Kylo. I see Mace Windu as a Force Ghost. I just don't think it can happen. I wish.
He'll show up as a Force Ghost after the credits, and he'll recruit them into the Avengers Initiative. That's how it's going.
Halloween's 2 days away. That's why there was no chocolate in my pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
Americans don't like catsup chips.
Catsup chips.
Do you not like it, or you just can't get it?
If you opt out of ketchup chips, we'll just send you a bag of milk instead.
I have to agree with Dan Allen. He says that y'all do some things with maple some might consider to be unnatural. I'm one of those. I do not do maple. I cannot stand maple. And you know what? Hot take. This is Slimer's hot take. Vermont makes better maple syrup than we do.
They have the Vermont Maple Festival. Of course they do.
Dude, I don't even like maple syrup, but I got a bottle of maple syrup when I was in Vermont.
I think they extradite you for that, right?
Yeah, they do. They actually, not gonna lie, at the border they pulled me aside and like ripped my car apart. They were like, "Woo!" Yeah. I'm like, "I just got maple, man."
Get out.
The border patrol guy took your bottle and he like took a swig and swirled it around and then spit it out and handed it back to you.
The maple syrup on snow on a stick. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, that's not for me.
It's not my thing.
Like putting it on drizzling it on top of like sausage or something though. That's nice.
No, Andrew, we're done. No more maple talk. I'm a health freak, so this conversation is killing me. Horizon Brave. Time to turn in your Canadian card, James. You are an imposter posing as a Canadian. That's actually probably true. Anyway, I actually voted here though. I did vote. Andrew knows that.
I was there. I watched you vote.
You watched me, but you guys have. So I keep hearing Americans don't have Kinder eggs, Kinder Surprise eggs.
Yeah.
But I was in Pennsylvania last year, and there were Kinder eggs, and I took a picture.
What?
Yeah.
Imported.
There may be. Because Heidi is saying there's also ketchup chips are in Pennsylvania. So I think Pennsylvania is Canadian. We've traded. I think Western Canada they want to separate. So I think we're trading Western Canada for Pennsylvania.
What
which
state
is fine. Maybe then a Canadian team will win the Stanley Cup, and we can all not have to hear that freaking. 1 liter of maple syrup is worth 2 beaver pelts here.
Yeah, we'll trade you for some fox furs.
All right, let's get back. Let's get back to the Knights of Ren talk. We'll go right back to how it all started with Kylo Ren, Knights of Ren. We're gonna wrap it up shortly. Do you guys do you think though that there is the chance that Snoke used the Knights of Ren? That the Knights of Ren were always Snoke's, and Snoke said, "Oh, by the way, this is my crew. You are their leader," to kind of lure Kylo back into to trust Snoke. He gave him the Knights of Ren and said, "No, you're their master. You're better than all of them," even though it was probably a bold-faced lie.
So like a situation where they were their own team. It was like Snoke and the Funky, and then he gave Kylo command of it all.
Yeah.
Is that what you're positing?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like Kylo being the master of the Knights of Ren is pretty much just a ruse by Snoke and the Knights, essentially.
Yeah, you know what? I like that, because if that's the case, then yeah, the Knights are in on the ruse, and that's a really cool dynamic, because they're taking orders from this guy and they're like, "Oh yes, sir, you sure are powerful, Mr. Kylo." And as soon as he turns his back, they're like, "Whoa, man, this guy has no idea what we're gonna do with him in Episode 9." There's a lot of potential. I like that.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, I think Snoke is behind. I mean, obviously, just this big, gigantic, year-long manipulation, and I think it's all going to come to fruition here in Rise of Skywalker. I guess my question for you guys is, how are they going to incorporate the Knights of Ren into this movie? Since they've only talked about them being in the past in the previous 2 films, what's going to introduce them into this film?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, so, go on.
I don't know. Go ahead. I gotta gather this together here in my head.
Silky thinks that Snoke was more the kind to throw Ben in the pit with the Knights and see if he makes it out alive. That would be cool. For me, this the other side of that coin with Snoke kind of just doing it as a ruse. It kind of also lessens Snoke to the point where he's not maybe as powerful as we all believed he was, which then gives you room for for Palpatine to be the real threat, because they got rid of Snoke so easily, Then now it's like, well, okay, he's not Plagueis. He's not bigger than Palpatine because Palpatine's still around. So what's up? So it's like, oh, actually, Snoke was just this guy who dabbled in the dark side, but he conveyed himself to be much grander than he was. And part of it was he had this group called the Knights of Ren who just went around and, got a bunch of Sith artifacts and yada, yada, yada. And he understood the dark side, but he was not a Sith, because we know he's not a Sith. And Kylo is not a Sith, yet Kylo has Sith troopers.
Yeah. I think it's so hard to say right now how the Knights of Ren are going to first pop up in this, because we don't know whose side they're on. Are they with the First Order? Are they with Palpatine? Are they exclusively with Kylo? Where are their loyalties? And until we know that, it's it's just a guessing game.
Jeff?
Yeah. I'm thinking about just trying to see how they were mentioned in the previous 2 movies, and it's all about referring to them, in the past tense. So I guess one of my other questions, it's like, what happened to them before The Force Awakens? Why don't we see them anymore? Why don't we see them, and why are they being present now? And I think that having Snoke not being as powerful as we thought is important, because that kind of gives, obviously, the CVP element, and then I kind of want to know what Hux was his role in all this too,
Yeah, and so there's some comments that from Blogger how he showed his power in the throne room. He toyed with Rey, yes, but that doesn't mean that he was all powerful. He had some power, and he was able to toy with Rey, who barely knew the Force at the time, right? She was still learning. She was still a work in progress, and so he was able to do that to her. I think Snoke was empowered by Snoke, i.e. Acolyte. Acolytes of the Beyond's coming up. I think Aftermath is the Rise of Skywalker looks like it's going to legitimize. It's going to make us look at Aftermath in a whole new light, I think.
Yeah. And it's going to pave the way for more, the big mysteries and stories that EU may have introduced, I don't think they're all going to get answered in Rise of Skywalker, but I think Rise of Skywalker paved the way to continue telling them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to wrap it up. We'll
So
get
in that,
one final thought from everybody before we go and watch the Mandalorian trailer. I just went on their Instagram account, and there's nothing to report yet. But the Mandalorian trailer is airing tonight. I've heard 8 o'clock. I've heard 9 o'clock. I've heard tonight. So they haven't posted anything just to keep you guys. I can't see anything other than what's right now. So that's what I'm here. We're going to watch it, obviously, and we'll be talking about those for sure. Legalize Aftermath. Pretty much like getting into a fight with a little kid beating them up. Yep. All right, so final thought, Andrew. I'll start with you. Final thought on the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren and the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, sometimes the internet does that. That's
Thoughts.
Autobots. All right, he's back yelling at Autobots. All right. That's our cue. I know, right?
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts, Jeff. I'll defer to you. What are your final thoughts on this Knights of Ren business?
I guess looking at it, as the story as a whole, we've heard a lot about them that we obviously don't know before. But, like I said, unfortunately, the runtime for this movie is going to prevent us from learning more than we already do. So I think that's where the comment kind of comes in as just a nice way to complement the film in that way. So I don't know. I'm stoked for it. I got my tickets, obviously. So yeah.
All right, my internet's going to hell, so let's wrap this up. Andrew, final thought, and tell everybody about your YouTube channel.
I just can't wait for, this gives me hope knowing that 3-year drought is not going to be a drought. It's going to be full of Star Wars goodness, just not on the big screen. But I can't wait to see what kind of stories we can dive into once we have the answers to all these hidden mysteries that JJ has been teasing. My YouTube channel is just called Andrew Fantasia. Simple as a pimple, easy to remember. And on there right now, I'm just about ready to wrap up Oktoberfest. I've been talking about scary all month long. And you can catch me there when I'm not here.
It's James with the Grinch shield on. How are you supposed to fight? Let us see. All right, guys, thanks so much. I cannot wait for the Rise of Skywalker and also the Mandalorian whenever this trailer's dropping. Let us like and subscribe, and you guys have been commenting all the time, so thanks so much. It's awesome to see that on there. It means a lot. We'll be back next Monday with more, and then the following Monday will be our last one before the Mandalorian is released, so that is exciting. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you, guys, and as always, may the force of others be with you.
Always.
I'm trying to see what I'm doing here. So, hold on.